Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. So you guys, this is Sistas, okay? We are at season 3, episode 6. The name of this episode was Hard to Get. Um didn't really that much happen in this episode, to be honest. I'm waiting for them to get to this apartment and her to tell all her girls that she's pregnant. And I said that might be another damn episode or two away because we see how, slow time moves. We already been waiting for that for like 2 episodes, right? But at least in this episode, we did finally have her tell Aaron. That was something else I was waiting for. She started it out with telling him with last week's episode. And so we picked off exactly where we left off. And she basically was saying to him, like, did you hear me? And repeating herself, like, I am pregnant. And he was like, yeah, I'm just kind of trying to process this and I'm trying to calculate, okay? He's like, how far along are you? And she says that she doesn't know yet. She hasn't been to the doctor yet. And if you remember, I think that was like 2 or 3 episodes back, Zach was actually telling Fatima that she was supposed to be going to the doctor that following week. So I don't know how long each episode is supposed to be. Okay, apparently they can't even get to damn Andy's house for the night, so obviously a week has not passed by yet according to them. And so he's basically saying, she was like, it's not his. He's like, well, how the hell do you know that? He was like, I'm sorry, but the math is kind of tight there. And that's all. At this point, she seems like she's upset. She pulls her foot down from him. He was giving her the massage. And she's saying it's not yours. And he was like, well, how could you be so sure? And I want to know too, Karen, how the hell can you be so sure? If you're saying you haven't made it to the doctor yet and you don't know the exact amount that you are along, how can you possibly rule him out? Okay? So he was like, anyway, so you think it's Zach? And she was like, yeah, it is. And he was like, well, again, how can you be so sure? The window is very tight between when you slept with him and when you slept with me. And at this point, like I said, she's just looking real uncomfortable. She keeps saying, I'm sure, I know for sure, Zach. And he was like, you don't even know how far along you are. Basically what we've all been saying. And so he was like, is this a matter of you not wanting it to be my baby? You wanting it to be his because you just want a way to still hold on to him and be connected to him. She's saying, no, it's not that because he's moved on. But he's like, well, you sure as hell, having. At this point, she's putting her shoes and stuff on. She's getting upset and she's saying, well, I just wanted to tell you so you could stop pursuing me, which I thought that was kind of weird to say that. If anything, I would think it would be, I just would want to tell you, to let you know the truth and let you know what was happening and why I have been acting and feeling the way that I've been feeling would have been something that would have been more logical to me. And his basic reaction to that was like, so you think by telling me that you're pregnant that, I wouldn't want to be with you anymore and I wouldn't want to pursue you. One thing does not have to do with the other. After all the time that I've been spending with you as of recently, you basically can't see that I care about you and I want to be with you. A baby would not stop me from doing that. Okay? And he's basically telling her that he cares for her and that he would love this baby, okay, no matter what, but especially if it was his. So, I mean, that was a different thing. That was okay, in my opinion, for him to say. And then she basically makes sure to say, well, it's not yours. And then she gonna say, well, stop saying stuff that I don't want to hear. Oh, my God. At this point, she's holding her head. She's getting upset. He's like, well, the last thing I want to do is upset you. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go ahead and give you a minute, but I'm just telling you how I feel. And she's like, I can understand that. I know. She was like, I'm sorry. I know. But at this point, she thinks that she needs some space and some time, to just worry about herself and worry about the baby and figure all of this out. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's understandable as well. And I never have an issue with anybody wanting time to themselves. Sometimes that is the best thing for you to do, especially if you're just going to be bringing, confusion and different stuff like that into, another person's life. And she's saying that, she just thinks she needs to be single for a while. So I'm like, okay, girl, whatever. And, of course, he's asking again, well, that means you're not over him. And she's saying, no, she's not. She's like, we did have 3 years together. I swear the way Karen be acting, sometimes I forget that it was 3 years. Because, honey, I would have thought it was 25. But, I mean, you love somebody. You love somebody. So she was like, it's just so much more than that. And she can't just turn it off just like that or whatever have you. And so he was saying, is it also because he's doing well? And she was like, no, it don't have nothing to do with that. And she was like, well, how do you know that he's doing well? And he was like, because I saw him on the basketball court. And so, basically, long story short, she was saying everything can't just be wiped away. And, she was like, yeah, I know you know about this because we've talked about it before. And so, at this point, like I said, I just really want to see Karen get to the damn doctor, find out how far along she is, and make whatever decision she needs to make from that point, okay? So then we have Pam basically, for whatever reason, just being Pam and trying to be nosy with Preston. Karen comes out and tells Preston that the girl he brought need to get the hair done is almost done. She's like, I didn't call Danny, and he's saying, good, I didn't want you to call Danny. But all of a sudden, Preston decides to change it and was like, well, I really did want you to call Danny. I'm still trying to figure stuff out, and I wanted her to be able to see that I could move on and that other people could want me and all this different type of foolishness. And I'm like, okay, Preston, now you starting to irritate my nerves. Usually I be on your side and I stick up for you. But what's the point in playing games and bringing this chick back purposely to get Danny's attention and make her feel that somebody else wants you and you could go on a date with somebody else? And Karen was basically like, yeah, I think she already knows that. How about you, just sit down one-on-one with her and have a damn conversation? How about you tell her how you feel instead of going all around the bend and y'all discussing whatever y'all need to discuss. And he was saying they just don't seem to fit together. And he was like, you know what I mean by that, right? And she was like, yeah, I do, but why don't you tell me? Oh, I think I do, but why don't you tell me? And he was like, it's just like we don't get along except for when we doing. And she basically cuts him off. And he was saying, I think sometimes it's like, I bore her or whatever, but I do really care for her. And she was like, well, this is all the stuff that you should be telling Danny about, not me. And if you want her, then you're going to have to try harder. And so he basically was like, I hear you. And then she went ahead to check on the girl, that was getting her hair done. And I just kind of want to get the Danny and Preston just all out the way, all in one, while I'm on the topic, because this was irritating me. I was like, okay, Tyler Perry, throw this damn storyline away because y'all raising up my blood pressure. Now you got Preston confused. You got him calling Danny. And the process of when he called her, she had the guy Fugel coming up to her, talking about, are you still angry? She's saying, I wasn't never angry, I didn't never have an attitude. And he was like, oh, this is the way you used to talk to me when we was in high school. And she was like, okay, so you should be used to it by now. Then the cop was coming up right behind him like, damn, she be dissing everybody, huh? And the guy Fugo was like, yeah. And in the process of that, she had got the call from Preston where he said he wanted to meet her out at the house and talk. And she was like, oh, well, I'm going on a date. And, and they were going back and forth over that for a minute. He was acting like he was all shocked and hurt that she was going on a date, even though she was lying. And he don't know that. She wasn't actually going on a date. She just had plans to go to to Andy's to find out what Karen wanted later. But, she had told him that in the meantime. And then she tells him, well, I have a couple of minutes. And she actually gave him a few points for him, saying that he would wait outside and that he wasn't going to ask the landlord to let him in. And also for him calling and asking her what she was doing first or whatever. And she was like, oh, so I see you have been listening to something, and so you get some points on that. And he does tell her about the whole thing of him bringing the girl back to the I'm about to say restaurant, back to Karen's salon, which On one hand, I didn't see the point of him even telling her that, but on the other hand, I guess he was trying to be honest and put it all out there. And so when she hung up with Preston, she actually called Danny too. I'm sorry, I should say Danny called Karen too to thank her for not calling her by Preston, and was saying that she still had been upset about that ever since the last time. And then Karen was asking what exactly did he say, and she was telling her what he had told her so far, and that he said he wanted them to have a face-to-face conversation for them to, basically discuss everything else that he was feeling or whatever that he wanted to say to her. And then Karen was like, oh, okay. So when Preston did get there, she's pretty much like, okay, what's going on? What did you want to talk about? Like, spit it out already. And, he's basically telling her he didn't want to go out with the girl. The whole time he was out with the girl, he was thinking about her. And she's pretty much like, yeah, I know. But at the same time, she's telling him, I know that you have more in common with her than you do with me. And he was like, well, why isn't love enough? And then she basically was like, you don't love me. And he was like, I've told you that before. She was like saying, so you love me now all of a sudden? And he was like, I told you that before. And she was like, when was this or whatever? And then Preston says, she's been talking at him, not talking to him. And that his main thing is that he kind of wants her to take his hand and guide him and show him really what she likes, what she doesn't like, and for him to be able to get to know her better as she is. And she tells him he's a grown man. She ain't got time to be guiding and teaching him or whatever. And, she can't help him grow up, essentially. And then he was like, that's not what I'm saying. I don't mean it in that way. But if I don't know what you like and what you don't like and what you into and, what make you happy, what make you sad, just the whole package or whatever, then, I can't read your mind. How am I supposed to know? That's how I took it. And I also know where Danny is coming from, where a lot of us will be like, I don't want to raise a man, and nor should you. You understand what I'm saying? That was his mother job, his father job, whoever was raising him job is not your job. But I don't feel like that's the way that Preston was saying it. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's not how I saw him saying it. And if you are not telling him things, Danny, and you are not revealing who you are, and you're still holding on to a whole bunch of baggage, and you're scared about this, and you're feeling that, and you're waiting months or however damn long it's been to just tell him little simple stuff piece by piece that you already was been feeling, obviously things can't work like that. And so my whole thing is, if y'all can't get through these barriers, and if y'all two can't sit down and just communicate as an adults, then this is not going to work, point blank, period. Communication is the key. If there's no communication, it ain't going to work. If there's no trust, it's not going to work. If you're not willing sometimes to be a little bit vulnerable and to open up a little bit, to learn some of his stuff, whether you like it or don't like it, at least you try to learn about it, and vice versa. But if you're not willing to do any of those things, then it's not a relationship, no matter how much y'all may care about each other. So at this point, I'm like, either do the stuff y'all need to do to really give it a chance and find out whether y'all good for each other or not, because I'm just so confused with this whole thing, and I'm just confused with the way that Danny has been acting now. It just seems like it's so out of nowhere to me. Like, this was not how Danny's character was, in my opinion, in the beginning when they first started, like the first season and a half of the series. Is like it just took a U-turn, and we really don't know why. And then she met Preston, and Preston seemed cool, and it seemed like things was going good for them until it wasn't. And that's basically where we are at with them two, as far as I'm concerned now. And like I said, it's just kind of running my blood pressure up, where I'm like, I can do without it, okay? That's my opinion. So anyway, we had Andy in her office with her feet up. I like those shoes that she had on. They look like something to go out, to eat or dance. I don't know, something not really to be at work, but they was cute. And Fatima had walked in and was giving her compliments on her bag, saying, boy, that's really something. She was like, well, girl, let me put this down before anything get messed up on it, because this bag costs $5,000. And Andy was like, yeah, I know, but I'm not the one that bought it. And then she's like, well, who the hell bought it? She's like, oh, what the heck is his name? Robin? And she's like, nope, not Robin. Guess again. And Fatima basically was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm good. Not really. I don't need to guess. Like, of course, Gary. And so I laughed at that because that's something that I feel like us real friends do when it's somebody we don't care about. And then she was saying that's not all he bought, and she was showing her the Rolls Royce. And Fatima basically was like, oh, okay, yeah, girl, we gonna go ahead and sell this. I got a friend of mine's that we could call. And she was like, for real, that's the same thing Karen said. So then she called herself because, of course, God forbid she mentioned damn Karen or anything. And, she was like, it's funny that you mentioned her because she did, end up calling my phone. It was actually, she thought she was calling, Zach's phone, but he had left the phone with me. And she was like, what? Zach left the phone with you? She was like, that's weird. Usually Zach would sleep with the pillow under his phone under the pillow and take it everywhere with him. She was like, Zachariah? And then she's like, yep. She was like, oh, okay, wow. And it's like, why is that so hard to believe? Yes, he's not the same damn Zach, okay, that y'all knew, or the same Zach that was with Karen. Let's move on. But anyway, she was like, okay, girl. So then she was telling her about how, she had made the mistake or whatever. She was like, no, girl, you did that on purpose. That wasn't no mistake. Then she was telling her how she had gave him he gave her the code to his phone. But when he asked for hers, she didn't give him the right one. And she was like, they don't need to, know everything. And then, Andy was like, that's right. I knew you wouldn't. And they was basically laughing about that. And then she's like, okay, well, I got to get back to work. And she asked her something about another case. And then she asked her to look into the person that she said she knew that she would be able to sell the car to. And she was like, okay, girl, no problem. She was like, but we could keep that bag. And she was like, we. And then she was like, yeah, basically started laughing. And so Karen calls Andy to see if they're still on, if they're still okay for them to meet at her house. She's like, yeah. And she tells her to invite Fatima too. And she's saying that this basically involves, Fatima too. Of course, Andy is like, what the hell is she talking about? Okay, well, why would this be involving Fatima? And I'm saying the same thing too, girl. Like, why would this involve Fatima? No, it don't. You telling whoever you think may be the baby daddy, if you so choose to. You telling your girls, your family, whatever. Yeah, but why would you need to tell Fatima? And first thing that came to my head is if she calling herself, being the one to come out and be like, oh yeah, because I'm pregnant by him. Fatima just gonna be like, oh, okay, girl, yeah, I knew. And what this got to do with me? But anyway, of course, after Andy hears this, she calls, Danny and Sabrina on three-way, and she tells them, and they like, huh? Why would she want her there? They like, that's strange. And they was like, well, I hope you're not gonna invite her. And this seems sound similar to how she was acting at the bar and all that kind of stuff. And they like, what are you gonna do? And she's basically like, I don't know, because they both carry guns, and I ain't trying to, be caught up in no mess or whatever have you. Then you had Gary coming with the guy Jake. The guy Jake is saying he's been trying to get Zach on the phone, and he hasn't been able to get him on the phone. That he basically, wants to talk to him about the whole hedge fund thing and what he doing with, the money and how much it went up and all of that other different info. And Zach is basically like, oh, I'm so sorry. My girl had my phone, long story. So he's like, no problem. And of course, Gary's like, hit me up anytime. And he gives him his card. And he was like, I'm going to leave y'all guys to go ahead and talk too. And basically, Jake rather, starts to say that he does stuff with houses too. And then, Zach is like, really? Oh, okay, listen. Because there's a house next door that could be coming up. And there's other houses that I'm going to be getting into, and if you're interested and you got the money, we could see what we could do. And they trying to figure out like what's the shares up, because Zach was telling him what it was the last time that he checked it, and Jake says that it's up 576 a share. And then they both kind of calculated at the same time, and Zach was like, whoa, or whatever. So he was telling him that he should at least take 15% out. If you don't want to take no chances, leave the rest and let the rest keep making it. And he asked him if he minds if he asked what bank he's with. And Zach was basically like, yeah, I do kind of mind, but I'll tell you anyway. And he lets him know, of course, that is the bank where Sabrina and them work at. And he was like, ooh, he was like, sometimes it's better to be with a brokerage firm than to just be with one of these little branches. And so Zach is like, I already see where it's going. And yeah, we do too. And he was like, I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask anyway, which brokerage firm should I be with? And basically the guy, Jake, was like, no, I'm not trying to say, that it should be ours or whatever. It's up to you, whichever one you want to go with. There's a lot of good ones out there, whatever the case may be. I'm not trying to tell you to go with ours, but if you go with ours, that would be a good thing. And then he all of a sudden starts asking if Zach needs help hanging pictures. And Zach is like, seriously, you want to help me hang pictures? He was like, now I know there's something wrong with you. And he was like, you got white in you and da-da-da. And then we found out, yes, he is mixed. His mom is, white or whatever have you. But my question, guys, is, do you think Gary is running a scam? Do you think Gary is ripping people off? Okay. And that's how he making money and how he able to all of a sudden buy all these different things. Because remember, they was looking into him for some different stuff before, but he claimed that all had came from the wife. So I don't know, but I'm just still having my eye out on that. And so, basically he was like, oh, wow, you a really nice guy. You're going to help me hang pictures and everything. He was like, shoot, okay, come on. I ain't going to turn it down. I could use all the help I get. So there you go. To go ahead and hang the pictures. And then hold on a minute, y'all. I'm so sorry. I swear, as soon as I get up here talking, my mouth always get dry or my throat itch. I don't be doing that any other time. But basically at this point Maurice comes home. He sees Calvin. He's asking him why he's sitting there like that. What's going on with him? At first, when Calvin is asking him, did Sabrina tell him everything? He tells him the truth. No, she didn't, but Calvin doesn't believe it. So Maurice essentially just starts to pretend so that he can find out what went down. Anyway, and he starts trying to fill in the blanks and be like, oh, you was at a bar. It's like if he's guessing different stuff. And then Calvin realizes that he really didn't know. But he was like, you could go ahead and continue and tell me about it if you want to. And then after a while, Maurice was making fun of him and different stuff like that. So he says he's leaving. And Maurice just basically was like, well, good. I like time alone by myself anyway. And I could get naked and scream. And that was pretty much all that happened with them. That wasn't really, no big issue. Then, after Preston and Danny has spoke, she was like, okay, well, like I said, I have the date and I got to start getting ready. And you know what I mean? Time's up, basically. And he was like, oh, you're asking me to leave? And she was like, yeah, I'll let you come over and I'll let you talk to me or whatever the case may be. But I already told you I had a date for tonight. And he was like, oh, you still going to go on that? And she was like, well, you went on yours, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I really couldn't be mad about that part. But excuse me. Like I said, I just want them to either figure it out or leave it alone. I basically feel that way when it comes to them. I feel that way when it comes to Sabrina and Calvin as well. So anyway, we have Fatima come home. She meets Jake. Okay. Matter of fact, as Fatima was leaving the office, I forgot to mention that part. Andy had asked her if she had any plans for the night. And she was like, no, not really. Why, what's up? And she basically tells her, maybe just leave like an hour open for me just in case. And she says, yeah. Because Andy still don't really trust inviting Fatima. She kind of wants to know what the hell it is that she wants Fatima there for. And Fatima comes home and meets Jake. At first she's all being kind of cool, but even seeming like she might be a little skeptical too. She was asking where he went to school, and Zach is like, come on now, tell her. Like, what is it? And he's like, Harvard. And she's like, oh, okay. And telling him different background. But then when she finds out, because Zach is like, Actually, I met him at a basketball game. Well, I didn't meet him at a basketball game, but me and Gary was playing basketball, and it's his friend's come, and he worked for him. She's like, Gary who? And of course, when she finds out it's the same Gary from, Andy, she ain't happy about that. She kind of giving him the side eye, and I think we all are, and so we could find out otherwise. And then, Zach basically invites him to play basketball with them one day. He's like, are you sure you could play? And they cracking different jokes. And, he calls Fatima beautiful and he telling him to watch it with that or whatever have you. And then he go ahead and leave. Karen calls Andy and says that she needs to speak to Fatima. She's double checking back to make sure that Andy really called her. Of course, they going back and forth, and she like, why do you want to speak to her? I don't understand. She's telling her, just trust me. She like, no, girl, when it comes to this, I don't trust you. Because like I said, y'all both carry damn guns. And I ain't trying to be in no mess. And then, Karen is talking about this ain't no joke. This is serious. She's like, yeah, I know. Is anything more serious than damn bullets? But she's telling her that she definitely needs her to be there. And that she better hang up and call her now. She's not playing. And so then she also asked about the case with Gary, ex-wife, and suing them. And she was saying that case is not going nowhere. You can't even sue for something like that in Georgia, and it's going to be thrown out, so don't worry about it. Then you had Gary calling Andy. First she's ignoring the calls, then she picks up the call and she's like, what do you keep calling me for? I don't understand why you keep bothering me, da 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 da. And he's basically like, oh, did you like the surprise? I know you liked it because I know how much you like surprises with the damn singing police. And she got the nerve to freaking tell him, yeah, that was sweet. And so then, she was like, but Karen wasn't too happy about that. She was basically in the car with me when it all went down too. And she was like, how did you know where I was going to be for them to follow me? Do you have a tracker on me? And he was like, no. So then he still was trying to tell her something else, and she was rushing him off the phone. And when she walks through the door, everything in her damn apartment is now moved out. There's nothing there. I'm sure she basically thought at first she was damn robbed or whatever. But of course we see for the coming scenes that they let her know that everything in her apartment got moved to the penthouse, and it's in her name and all this other stuff. So now we have Gary with him getting her the car, getting her all the jewelry and bags and clothes, whatever have you. And now, without her permission, moving all her stuff out and buying a penthouse. And my whole thing is, if you was able to do all of this all this time, why wasn't you been doing it? And why you ain't been have your own damn place when she kept telling you to get your behind out? And even when you was like, oh, I'm out of here from before, And is this supposed to be so-called sweet too, that you came in my house without my permission and moved all my stuff to the penthouse? I'm not finding none of these stuff sweet. I'm not finding it sweet. I'm not finding it cute. Maybe I'm crazy, okay? But that's just how I feel. I don't want you touching my stuff without my permission. I don't want you moving my stuff without my permission. I don't want to have to owe you nothing, especially if we're not in a relationship in that way and we haven't been able to move past certain things and be on the same page, with certain things. We are at like the worst that we've been with each other and regarding each other. But because you are essentially trying to buy me, okay, with whatever nice gestures you supposedly that you're making, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I'm not impressed. I don't think it's cute. Maybe I would still take the stuff. Maybe I would still, sell the stuff, but I wouldn't end up back with him. But I could definitely see Andy ending up back with him. And him throwing it in her face that everything, she has is because of him. When most of this stuff she could have anyway because she's a damn lawyer and she had made that big, increase in her income and all of that with a promotion with the law firm any damn way. So you're not buying her nothing that she can't buy herself. So what exactly are we talking about here? I don't know. But y'all tell me y'all opinions. Y'all put it in the comments if I left anything out. Put that in the comments, Like, share, subscribe. Till next time, fingers crossed that we actually have the girls meet up next week and talk about this, and maybe a damn doctor's visit the week after if we lucky. All right, y'all. Till next time. Toodaloo.